بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم لا علم إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. This video we're going to be talking about what you need to do to improve your reading skills. It's actually a very long process, and we'll just go through the main points, inshallah. So I'll read through it and then explain. It says there are many aspects required to being able to read Arabic texts and understanding them. The first thing we need is to increase your vocabulary. This is one of the most important aspects of being able to read and understand. And I've produced a video on how to do this, inshallah, so you can watch that. Secondly, understanding sarf, morphology at a deep level, where one understands how the different verb and nouns are formed with all their subtleties. This is not, I don't mean basic knowledge, I mean knowledge of every single form, and this is including weak letters, verbs that have weak letters, verbs that are muda'af, that have the double letters, and all the derived forms, including their passive forms. So it's quite extensive knowledge of sarf that you need. And the Medina books actually goes through most of this, however, it does leave some gaps. And with the nouns also, there are derived nouns. The different ones are, for example, the ism fa'il, ism maf'ul, ism makan, zaman, the ism tafdil, ism mubalagha. This is not covered that well in the Medina books, so that's one aspect. Sifa mushabbaha is not covered either, and the different forms of it. Broken plurals, once again, they're not covered that well. The main forms are covered, but there's actually over 50 different forms of these broken plurals, so the one needs to know these. Now, one aspect to note, and this is something that I've written here, I've written two words in Arabic, is a verb and a noun can be written the same way. And I've given two examples here. Well, this one here can be tafarraqa, or could be tafarraqun. Tafarraqa is a past tense verb. Tafarraqun is a masdar, which is an ism. So how do we know this? By the vowels, but they're not given. So how do we know? Obviously by the context that they're used in. And obviously this will take practice to understand or to determine a verb from a noun. And we have here anzala. Now this could be anzala, which is the form 4 with the added alif, so it's a past tense verb, but it also could be a thulathi mujarrad, the base 3-letter form of nazala yanzilu. And this could be the mutakallim, the first person, singular. That's with the hamza there. So it could be actually anzilu, I go down. Or it could be anzala, somebody is bringing down. So it's a subtlety there. So obviously the context will dictate what the verb is. So this is they're just two examples, but I mean obviously there are other examples that I can give. Now I've written down, when we talked about understanding Arabic grammar at a high level, I actually talked about here the limitations of the Medina books. I've listed some of them just to indicate that one needs a high level Arabic grammar. So the Medina books deals with a general overview on different aspects of Arabic grammar, but does not go into the details one needs to understand Arabic at a high level. I've given some examples here. For example, the Medina books covers plurals, but does not go into all the different forms, as I mentioned, of the broken plurals. Nor does it go through the difference between the greater and the lesser plural. The greater and the lesser plural. This is not covered in the Medina books. although it's important to understand, especially Quranic grammar. You might have a word that has two broken plurals, or has one broken plural and a sound plural. So which one? Why does it have two plurals? For example, you have the word kuffar, disbelievers, and you have the word kafirun. So what's the difference between the two? Obviously there's a difference, because Allah uses kafirun sometimes and uses kuffar sometimes. And the fact that there are two words in Arabic language means there's a difference between the two, because Arabs don't use words that mean exactly the same thing. There's a difference between the two. And another aspect is the different meanings of harf jars. Now, in the Medina books, we cover the basic meaning of the harf jars, but not every single meaning, which is very important to know. And it's very important also that with harf jars, you have sometimes a fa'il. Let's just, for example, use the following. رغبة. So the word رغبة means to desire or to wish something, and you use the harf jar fi. However, if you use the harf jar an, it has the opposite meaning, to dislike something. So just changing the harf jar changes the meaning. So we need to also know the difference between using different harf jars for a particular verb. That's just one aspect of that. And I don't think this is covered to an extent in the Medina books, but it does leave some gaps. And what I'll do is I'll supply a table with the harf jars, like the different prepositions and their meanings, and you'll find out how detailed and how many actually different meanings there are. So that's just one aspect to note. And they're just a few aspects of Arabic grammar. So obviously there are so many others. Well, that's just a couple of examples of it. Now, another thing we can do or to improve reading is actually to go and perform translation exercises. And obviously with a teacher. So, for example, I've just chosen a line from a book randomly. It was talking about some of the ijaz al-Quran fi Surah al-Teen, some of the linguistic aspects of Surah al-Teen, and it's initially speaking about the oaths, وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ. And I just took this particular sentence out from a paragraph. So that just gives you the context of what is going on, so you understand what's happening. So I'm just going to go through a quick translation of it, and just to show you just some of the aspects of what we do to translate. And obviously we'll be going through a lot of other translation exercises in the future, obviously, especially with the book on Nahu that we're going to be covering. So it says here, so fa is the preposition. فَأَقْسَمَ. Now the question is أَقْسَمَ يُقْسِمُ. It could be أُقْسِمُ as well. So how do we know if it's not أَقْسَمَ or أُقْسِمُ? Because أُقْسِمُ is a present tense, and the oath was something that happened in the past, obviously. Now we know Allah subhanahu doesn't exist in time, but with regards to the revelation, the revelation was revealed before, so the oath was already there. That's why we say that it's not uqsimu, or that he's not doing it at this present moment or in the future, that he's already done it. So it's aqsama. فَأَقْسَمَ. Aqsama means to swear an oath. فَأَقْسَمَ, and we have the dhamir in aqsama, which is huwa. Subhanahu, Now subhan is a maf'ul mutlaq, and it always ends with a fatha. It's mansub, and what comes after it is a mudaf ilayh, and you have the wow there. So subhanahu, that's talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Glory be to him, subhanahu. فأقسم سبحانه, and this pronoun here goes obviously to huwa. Subhanahu. بهذه, there's a ba, harf jar. هذه, this is ism ishara obviously. Next word is al-amkina, which is a plural. It's a broken plural, which is from makan. So we have the word makan. Al-amkina is the plural of makan. So bihadihi al-amkina, this is badal obviously, and makan means a place, al-amkinati means places. So we have the broken plural, which means places, and then we have after it al-thalatha. Notice that al, and they're both feminine, so it's talking about the places. And how many are there? Three. Al-thalatha. So this is a sifa, or na'at, whatever you like to call it. Al-thalathati, al-azimati, same thing, it's another sifa. So two sifas, you have one sifa there, two sifa. So it's talking about the places, the three, al-azimati, the great, the three great places. So he swore, glory be to him, bihadihi, with these three great places, allati, ism mawsul, which is another sifa. This is the third sifa. Allati, and then you have silat al-mawsul. Here would be the mubtada. Madahir. Madahir means the apparent places, or something that's apparent. So here, allati hiya madahir. So the apparent places, madahiru. It comes from madhar, which is the singular, madhar, and you have madahir, which is the plural. Madahir, mafa'il. I was mafa'il, so it's mamnu' min as-sarf, but because it's actually mudaf, it only takes one dhamma. Anbiya'i, he, because it's mudaf ilayh. Madahir, the apparent places of his anbiya. This he goes back obviously to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the huwa. And wa rasulihi, same thing, this also goes back. So notice this is mudaf ilayh, anbiya'i, he, wa, and this is atf. Rusulihi. Rusul is the plural of rasul. So rusulihi. So translation would be is. So therefore, he swore an oath, glory be to him, with these three great places, with those places that are the apparent, or the apparent places of his prophets and his messengers. So that's just a brief translation of this particular sentence. So it's quite a bit of, you'll notice quite a bit of detail that you need to know, and you do need to know a lot about sarf and about nahu to be able to translate well. Okay, let's continue on. Now the final aspect, and the most important, obviously, is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you, to make your intention to please Him and Him alone. And the intention is not to show people what you know, but always to conceal this knowledge unless there is a need. So teaching somebody is a need. Trying to educate Muslims is a need. Bragging about knowledge to somebody to show off, this is obviously not a need. This is actually a sin. And I just want to highlight a story. Actually, one of my sheikhs actually told me this about his own sheikh. He was actually a faqih, actually a big scholar in Syria. And people used to ask him questions, and he used to know the answers to the questions because they were the same old questions that were repeated over and over again. But what he used to do was he used to answer the questions directly, unless obviously there was a need to do so. But I mean, if he was around in his office, he'd know where the answer was, and he'd get the book out and he'd find the page and then read it to the person to answer his question. And he actually memorized the book, so he knew the book back to front. However, he done it in a way to conceal this knowledge, not to show that he was a great scholar and that he knew so much. He kept this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I just want to share that with you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our intentions. And obviously this is for me first and foremost. All the nasiha I'm giving you is for myself first and foremost, and to the students. The nasiha that we give is for our own selves before anyone else. If we're not benefiting from the nasiha, then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and to change our state. وصلى الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.